Originally from Aliquippa in Beaver County, Dr. Ure graduated from Our Lady of Sacred Heart High School in Rube Township and subsequently Allegheny College, where he earned a Bachelor's of Science degree, majored in biology with a minor in French. In the fall of 2004, Sam matriculated to LECOM at Bradenton as part of the inaugural class, and he served as Bradenton's first student government president. In that capacity, he provided leadership, support, and encouragement to many of the clubs and organizations formed in those early years. Sam was also actively involved in community service and initiated a program to raise money for the purchase of wheelchairs for those in need. Graduating from LECOM Bradenton with the first class in 2008, Dr. Ure completed an internship and residency in internal medicine at UPMC Mercy Hospital in Pittsburgh. Today, he is in private practice as a board-certified internal medicine physician with St. Clair Medical Services in Pittsburgh. He and his wife, Dana, live in Moon Township and just welcomed their first child. Daughter Lillian Rose was born a few weeks ago and is 3 weeks old today, correct? Dr. Ure is a member of the American Osteopathic Association, the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association, the American College of Physicians, and the Pittsburgh Airport Area Chamber of Commerce. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Samuel Ure.
Thank you very much. I'd like to start off by welcoming the Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine class of 2018. I also want to extend a warm welcome to the family, relatives, and friends who have come near and far to make it here today. I'm honored to be standing before you, and I wish to thank both Doctors John and Sylvia Ferretti for not only the opportunity to speak to you today, but also the honor of being accepted into the first graduating class of LECOM Bradenton. And now I get to address you as a graduate of your medical school. Yes, this is your medical school now. You're charged not only with the task of learning the preclinical sciences during your time on campus, but also with representing LECOM well. The torch has been passed to you, and I hope that you will carry it with honor. Now I want to take you back about 6 to 7 weeks ago, August the 1st. It was a really warm summer day in Pittsburgh, and I was sitting out at the pool because I had a half day in office. You can do that when you're attending. I was reclined on a Chase lounge and delved into a book by Dr. Ben Carson. I was waiting for my wife to get there, and my mind half focused on the book, half focused on the fact that she was 23 days away from her due date. With our first child, Lily, I felt my phone begin to buzz. LECOM Erie showed up on my caller ID, and it was Dr. Sylvia on the other end of the phone. She was calling to ask me to speak here today, and at that moment I was overwhelmed. I was excited. After I hung up the phone, I just didn't know how to react. A lot of thoughts came flooding back, and waiting for my wife, I couldn't sit still. So, what anyone our age would do, I grabbed my iPhone and started furiously jotting down notes. What am I going to say to a group of up-and-coming osteopathic physicians? Has it really been 10 years since I began at LECOM Bradenton? And did I really just answer the call from my dean and provost in a red bathing suit? I don't think they let me in the doors with that. But I decided to make my way over to the pool, and I was watching the kids and their parents swimming during these last dog days of summer, and I became overwhelmed with a sense of nostalgia. My first summer came back to me working as a lifeguard, but before becoming a lifeguard in 1996, I knew I had wanted to become a physician. But I figured lifeguarding would be a great way to protect others and avail myself to those in need. Luckily, I only had to save one person during those 4 years. But this sense of wanting to help others and protect others only intensified as I aged and matured. So then in the summer of 2002 at Aliquippa Hospital, I became a nurse's aide and orderly, where I was tasked with several things: bathing patients, obtaining vital signs, and even offering a shoulder to cry on. This was merely the beginning of my life's work helping others. Guarding lives and caring for them were 2 ways in which I was able to test my resolve to enter into the medical field. But now I've bored you with my reminiscing. I want all of you students to think back to why you chose to pursue medical education. Why did you apply to Erie? Why did you desire to become an osteopathic physician? Did you feel that it would be rewarding helping others? Were you passionate about the science of medicine? Maybe you would experience the love a loved one's loss. Or maybe your own personal trials, triumphs, and tribulations drove you towards this vocation. I can tell you this white coat ceremony is not only a symbol of your future, but also a pathway to understanding the responsibilities with which you are all now charged. Now, when I was a pre-med, my friends and I, and even during our medical school days, weren't quite aware of what it required of us to become a physician, so we relied on the television shows of our day. And I'm going to take you back through some of those. The first one was ER. It led us to believe that we had to be a George Clooney or be an advocate for patients who needed to balance the demands of stress, sleep deprivation, seeing humanity at its best and worst in an emergency department. Scrubs had a more lighthearted approach and had us believe we needed to be like JD, more introspective, but also a friend to those in need and rely on our fellow residents. Grey's Anatomy had us believe that we could all be a McDreamy, McSteamy, or McSmarty names, but also a hero or heroine for our patients. And then House. If you don't know who Dr. House is, you should probably leave. So Dr. House would have you believe that every patient is going to come in with this unique, complex medical problem that can only be solved with critical thinking, problem-based learning techniques, and for you PBLers, making use of whiteboards to eliminate, by process of elimination, differential diagnoses. But I found one truth of element in all of these shows. But what impressed me more, I hate to say it, my brother's a lawyer, but the show Scandal, about a group of lawyers, talks about a premise that they're to be gladiators for their clients. Gladiators in suits. So aside from the characteristics of all of these fictional medical people I discussed, you need to be gladiators. Gladiators in white coats. When you first wear your white coat, it'll be just the beginning of your transformation today. Soon you will wear these white coats, not just for show and pretty pictures, but during clinical experiences on campus, and eventually your clinical rotations. Sometimes you can consider that white coat to almost be like a hero's cape. It's going to feel very light on you. You're now defenders of humanity, learned friends. You will be endowed with special powers like a superhero. You're going to have the power to put a patient at ease. Just donning that white coat and walking into an exam room. Patients automatically feel better. They think the person in that white coat is there to help them, to shed light on their problems, and tell them everything's going to be better. And on the other hand, that same consoling white coat, when you walk into a room, has the ability to raise the systolic blood pressure of the patient by 30 to 40 points. So, opposite ends. But just to break the monotony here, let me show you the difference between lab coats. I'm going to ask Dr. Sylvia for some assistance here. The first coat I'm going to show you was the one I received at the end of January 2009. I put on some baby weight, so it really doesn't fit. But when you're a medical student, and you'll find this to be true on your clinical experiences during your patient encounters, you're going to have an ophthalmoscope and other various tools. What do I have in mind? What did I carry when I was a third and fourth year? I carried my flip phone because we didn't have special phones back in '06, so my first text was sent from this very phone. Pocket medicine book, boards and wards. I couldn't fit first aid in here, otherwise I probably would have. I have my LECOM ID, my Terrascon pharmacology book, even the eye chart. I mean, if I wore this thing, it looked like I was going to a nerd convention. But as time goes on, you're soon going to shed the short white coat that I can't get off. And you're going to get to wear a long white coat when you become an intern. And you're going to feel kind of awkward in this the first few times you wear it. You're thinking, wow, this thing grew, but by then so will have your knowledge base. Hopefully you'll become wiser in the process. But what does an intern carry around? Well, you still carry books. Maybe a Palm Pilot, which we initially started off with. Even Bates' Guide to Physical Exam. When you're a resident, you want to carry journal articles from the New England Journal to make you look smarter. Your stethoscope, if you're an internist like myself, may be worn around your neck like a flea collar. And in residency, the one thing that got me through those 3 years were 5-hour energy. But then you become an attendant. and you carry a stethoscope, maybe a pen, and have empty pockets. And I'm going to get to that later. So you make it to your 3rd and 4th year of medical school. That lab coat's going to be on you every day. That short lab coat's going to signify to others that you're a student in training, a doctor to be. While you're wearing it, you're going to have innumerable experiences, both good and bad. To think you might just be the last face that a person sees before they shed their mortal coil to meet their creator. You could also be the first face that a new life sees on your obstetrics rotation, helping to bring a baby into the world. That white coat's going to bear witness to many beginnings and endings over the next 4 years. But just remember, your short coat endows you with powers that your attending long coat won't. Students have the ability, the power to spend ample time getting to know your patients. You're going to have time to be very elaborate in your soap notes, in your medical history, digging deep, but getting to know the person, the patient behind the gown. You need to see beyond their problem and see them for who they are. You're accepting a responsibility now to be a voice for the voiceless, a beacon of light and hope for those wandering aimlessly in the dark. When wearing that lab coat, remember the 3 rules of arm's length. You should always be an arm's length away from your patient to hold their hand when they're sad and need consolation. You should always be a shoulder arm's length away from a box of tissue to give to a grieving widow or a patient battling depression, but also an arm's length away from the door handle in case they turn on you and you have to run. It's only happened twice, maybe 3 times. But as the osteopathic oath to which you pledge yourself today and will reaffirm on your graduation day in 2018 beautifully states, I will be mindful always of my great responsibility to preserve health in the life of my patients, to retain their confidence and respect as both a physician and a friend who will guard their secrets with scrupulous honor and fidelity, to perform faithfully my professional duties. See, the words friend and physician jump right out at you. I hope they do. You may not have seen all of this coming, did you? You're so consumed with netters, with neuroanatomy, with embryology, Ross's histology. You should be elbow deep, more so shoulder deep in your preclinical studies. But remember this one pearl of wisdom I give you today. Although you're diligently and assiduously studying and engaged in the learning process, this doesn't mean that you cannot and should not begin to practice small acts of kindness in order to sharpen your people's skills and your humanity. You're not in this alone. Make friends with the classmates sitting next to you today. The reason I know that my friends and classmates from the class of 2008 in Bradenton had earned the affection of the faculty and went on to do so well in their training programs and careers is because my friends were not only academically astute, but also socially adept. We were an affable group, I have to say. So take time to sit next to the person alphabetically seated next to you. Ben Thompson, now a radiologist in Connecticut, sat to my right, Nazim Vazi, an ENT, sat to my left. We got each other through those first 2 years. And I still remember this 10 years later, and I hope you remember who sits next to you 10 years later, or just look at the alphabetical list of your class. Finally, in 2018, you're going to earn your osteopathic medical degree. Becoming a doctor of medicine is just one thing, but becoming a doctor of people is totally different. It takes more than brains, it takes heart. It takes patience and empathy. Now, one of my favorite aphorisms was from my physician and one of my attendings during residency in med school, Dr. Terry Philbin. His daughter was second year at your school. He used to say, Sam, there's only certain things you can learn in a book, a textbook. Others come from the book of life. And how right he was. No one can teach you how to be a physician or a friend. You're going to continue to learn and gain experience and eventually get this long lab coat that I'm wearing right now. Yes, it'll be a sign that you're a knowledgeable person to your patients, but hopefully wiser. And wisdom can only come with the experience. Enjoy this process of becoming wiser. And inevitably, you're going to have moments, you probably already are, where you're feeling down on your luck, where you're questioning yourself, feeling dejected. Am I really cut out for this? That's going to continue in your career. But when this happens, take pause and think about those who need you. Many people walking the earth, and I think there are about 7 billion right now. Some not even born are going to be your patients. You just haven't met them yet. They're going to be ailing physically, mentally, and spiritually. They're going to need you. They will place their lives in your hands. But how are you going to react at that moment? You don't know. So just let this motivate you now when you're feeling down on your luck. Through your career, your white coat is going to feel heavy, like a lead apron worn by a radiology tech. The weight's not going to come from the books, the 5-hour energy, the patient lists or journal articles, or the stethoscope in your pockets, but from the burden of being responsible for the lives of another human being. The weight of your conscience, or the weight of a heavy heart after telling someone that a family member's passed. Yes, there are moments where your lab coat's going to feel like a cake. You're going to feel like you really helped someone. You're going to be complimented by an attending, by a patient's family member, or a nurse, and you're going to really feel that you're cut out for this. The white coat does not determine, however, what type of doctor you will become. That's something that comes from within here. Be grateful for the gifts and talents with which you have been blessed, and don't be afraid to share them with others. Remember, as our philosophy teaches us, to treat the whole patient, the whole person, and not just a disease process. So I challenge all of you today, do not be an empty white coat. Don't just fill it with medical equipment. When your pockets are empty as a physician, as an attending, hopefully they'll be filled with sympathy and empathy, with confidence but not hubris, with friendship and wisdom, not just knowledge. And let me tell you this in closing. A bright smile and a hearty laugh are the best things to accompany any white coat. May God bless you in your studies to become osteopathic physicians, and good luck in your studies. Thank you.